Hey there, welcome back. I am Dee, and I am walking you through some mobile homes today. So let's go ahead and share some of the photos that one of our students took and just kind of walk you through from what I see on this home, just so you can be aware of some things to look at. Obviously, this home has had some water damage, definitely. It's had some water damage. The big thing is identifying where that water damage is coming from. So in a situation like this, it could be the edge of the house has an awning, has a gutter system. It could be that the edge of the roof material, when it's tucked over, actually has been broken up, and so water's actually going in. Or it could just be that the roof is just garbage. When you're looking at this type of ceiling system, these are little flower screws that go up into the trusses. So they should be all parallel here. And you're going to start seeing that there's some puckering, if you will, for lack of another word, that has taken a place around this. So that shows that there's been a decent amount of water that's been sitting up in there. So typically what ends up happening is you have your insulation, you have your vapor barrier, which is plastic, and then you'll have this stuff installed. Now, sometimes they do a little different, but in a lot of cases, that's the way it is. So a lot of times the water will get through the insulation, sit in the plastic, and then just keep on pushing this down. In a lot of cases, causing cracking, popping out of these so that water comes out. Sometimes people drill holes up into them so water comes out, or it just comes out on its own, as you can see here. Definitely a decent amount of water that's been consistently coming in over in these areas, because we actually have black mold, or mold, I should say. Can't tell whether it's completely black mold. Definitely water has been going down this wall, so there's probably issues behind the wall there. Probably on the subfloor, just underneath it. Obviously, this desk has seen something. I'm not quite sure what it saw. It definitely has seen something. And then, the foil on the windows, it could just be somebody's window treatments, or it could be an indicator if it's all throughout the house as far as drug activity that's happened, or somebody works at night. So there's a variety of different reasons for it. If you have a question about it, a lot of cases, the park manager will tell you the reason why they kick the people out. In some cases, it could be drug activity. Ask the neighbors. They'll let you know what's going on. The other thing is, too, is you can actually go to Amazon and for not too much be able to get some meth tests. And they're, I'd say they're pretty reliable as well. Around the windows, always checking those, seeing if you're seeing discoloration, cracking, puckering that's taken place there. Discoloration down here. I would be putting my feet down at the base of this wall here and over as far as you could over here, just to see what's going on, to see if there are issues there. We have definite water damage consistently coming in. And that looks like that's that same window just over a little further. So it's on the other side of that post. So we have the water over here. We've got the water continuing here, water continuing there. It's probably a trend throughout the rest of the ceiling in those areas. So it looks like the front door is there. Looks like we have discoloration here. So it could be coming in from up there, or it could be just pulling directly on there. Looks like we have a porch. If we have an awning, it could be due to all this damage could be due to the connection point on the side of the house where that awning is. If it's bad, it's going to cause problems where it's going to cause water to come in between the ceiling and the side of that wall. This looks a little bowed. Anybody need an umbrella? I would definitely check the porch, make sure that everything is secure and stable. A lot of our parks do not allow lattice, so we would have to reblock that, paint that. A lot of our parks require that the porches are either painted or that we have exterior carpet on those, outdoor carpet on those. So that's another thing to be aware of. I would definitely all along this wall and also in front of the door and above the door be checking as well. So I would walk along this side and in front of the door as well. And then see if you could test that ceiling fan. A lot of cases, it's just they take the bulbs with them. Sometimes they're just broken. You do have a pretty big size hole in the floor. That looks like a floor register that went bad. What I mean by that, A lot of times if it's in the middle of the room, it's gonna get a lot of traffic on it. And if they haven't blocked it correctly, meaning on either side of the duct, they haven't used blocking on it between the floor joists, what's going to happen is it's going to cause vulnerability, and over time it's going to cause it to break. And especially if it's particle board that's there, and or heaven forbid if it ever got wet, you're going to have that dip down, and there's going to be an increase in size of hole there. So we'll have to look at, I think we've got another photo with that information. They're great housekeepers, if nothing else, right? So you got to be careful with how grossed out you get. It's going to be messy. If you're going to get a good deal, some cases it's a bit messy. They definitely love their aluminum foil window treatment. So that's a pretty consistent theme throughout the house. You do also have some discoloration of, it looks like maybe carpet. So it could have gotten burnt because it was too close to the wood burning fireplace, or it could be due to water getting in. Looks like it was taken out of another room because there's carpet here. It's hard to tell with that scenario. You can also see that there's wind water coming in there. The other thing too is wood burning stoves, okay? If you look at the width of this wall, it's not very wide. The exterior walls on these are probably lucky if they're 2x4. And they're not braced like really aggressively, especially if this is pre-HUD, which is pre-76, June of 76. So putting actual brick in this is going to put a lot of weight on these walls and also on the subfloor, especially if it's particle board. So, and then also on top of not only just the brick, but also the wood burning stove can cause issues too with the amount of weight, because they're pretty heavy duty, right? And then the other thing is ducting out the fumes coming from that fireplace. It looks like this is the spot where it was ducted out. Depending on what the seal was like on the outside when it was ducted out, there could end up being a ton of water damage. Now, breaking this off and getting rid of this can cause a lot of problems. Who knows what your wall's like on the back side of this? This could be holding up that side of the house. Yeah, weird, right? We actually had a situation where we had one of these put in a home, probably was like the third home I worked with Nolan on, and they had actually vented it up through the roof, and when they did that, they cut through trusses. Never a good thing to do. Caused a lot of problems there. Some more fancy window coverings. We do look like we've got water coming in along this side. So I would definitely walk all along here on the subfloor. Looks like that might be the back door if I was going to guess correctly. The other thing is if you end up seeing subfloor has been replaced, that means that there's been a leak. Majority of the time it has not been fixed, especially if you're still seeing discoloration. Okay. That could be a seal on that back door just being bad. It could be the way that water's directed off the house away from the door or directly into the door. Could be an issue. It could be the seal of it. It could be the framing of it. It could be that it's not caulked correctly. Same thing with this window, especially if they are the transom windows, the ones that basically are cranks, and they basically individually, when they're closed, they end up basically being on top of each other, and then you crank them out and they're like that. A lot of your older trailer homes have that type of setup. In a lot of cases, they just never seal correctly. That would be a replacement, and that can get quite expensive on your older mobile homes, especially. What do I mean? Probably pre-80, even pre-90, because they're custom size windows in most cases. What happened is a lot of these manufacturers would buy in bulk windows to fit all their models, and they were the only one that basically bought those size windows. If you take a look at this wall, it's not very, very wide. What is that, 2x2? Right? So if you try to put tile or something like that on the backside of that, not to say you would do it here, but I just want to give you an example that these are not wide walls. They're not weight-bearing walls. They're just transition walls. A lot of your weight is going to be more on the exterior walls, and even in a lot of cases, even some of those are not necessarily built super, super sturdy. So somebody might look at this and go, oh my goodness, there's tons of water coming in, probably because of this being in the window and not being a tight seal. So that could be a good portion of the reason why you're seeing some of those things. Plus also look where this duct is. Isn't this directly opposite of where the other one is in the other room? I assume that other room is probably back over here. and it's in a similar spot. So it's probably the reason why that issue occurred was because it wasn't blocked correctly, and that the ducting has actually fallen down over time. So that's another thing too, is from an HVAC standpoint, that would be another fix. Somebody would have to be willing to crawl underneath that home and fix that in order to make sure that there was proper ventilation into that room. Zooming in, definitely water, you know, has been coming in. And look at this, we have no outlet in there. Okay, could be a good reason for it. Looks like a standard outlet. The other thing too that's kind of interesting is some of these manufactured homes have one-piece systems. So the box that typically would be blue or gray in our standard application of stick-built houses, site-built homes, a lot of cases can't fit into these walls, so they did one-piece units where the actual box and the outlet are one piece. Interesting setup, right? So trying to replace that with a typical blue box standard outlet system, because the walls may not be wide enough, can be an issue. So in a lot of cases, some electricians will not touch manufactured homes, especially older ones. Okay, so that's another thing to be aware of and something to look at. Now, I'm not knocking these. I'm just saying that these are unique. These are the things that are unique to manufactured homes. Once you understand that, and you have a team of individuals that know how to work with this stuff and have found workarounds with it and ways to be able to deal with it and know how to resolve it, it's no big deal. And that's where we're at. So I'm just giving you a heads up as the things to look at, that when you see that, it's not necessarily a simple thing. It could be, depending on how wide that wall is. Okay. And again, you know, we're looking at, you know, the corners, touching, you know, getting our feet over there, hitting the corners with our feet, seeing how crispy, crunchy it is, looking in around the windows, what kind of water issues are we having? Keeping in mind, a good portion of it could just be as simple as this, or it could actually be leaking in from the roof, or it could be leaking in, coming in from the window, could be coming in from a carport, could be a lot of different things, or awning, I should say, on that side. Looks like the same room. Looks like we have carpet that is worn down the subfloor. So that's interesting. Definitely well loved. You can patch paneling. A lot of people are like, well, why don't you just replace it with drywall? It's very expensive. That's why. Very, very expensive. Electrical. So at least we have one light that's working. One thing I want to point out though, look at how this dips down. That could be a truss issue. See the thing that's here? It should be, let's see, is it a star? Or is it one that popped out? Looks like it's one that popped out, right? Looks like possibly, or that a hook? It's hard to tell. So we have those stars over here, those flowers would be in the same vicinity. It may have actually popped out because of the water that's coming in. And around here, if you see a lot of discoloration around here, that means there's a lot of water that's been coming in. And it's going to go to where it can escape, right? So those are definitely things to take a look at. In some cases, what people will do is actually drill holes up into the ceiling to be able to get it to drain. So how do you fix this? This could be a truss issue as well as also water, or it could just simply be that it's the insulation with the vapor barrier, the barrier that's up there, the plastic that's up there, that the plastic could have gotten wet and held the water in there and just buckled this down, and maybe the trusses are fine. How do you fix this? Well, these systems are very hard to find. I'm not going to say you can't find them anywhere, but I'm going to say they're difficult to find, and normally they're pretty dang expensive. So what we do is we'll tear it all the way down. The other thing to be aware of is you can see this little lip. Okay, this board actually goes back behind these walls. So they'll actually put these ceilings in first and then put the walls up on the inside. So what has to happen in order to replace it with new material correctly, so that it's actually the edges are held up by portions of these walls, is when you cut this out to put new material up in there, 1/4 inch drywall, you actually need to cut it back and then tuck it in under in between where the truss is and the side wall is. Typically there's about a little bit of a gap, about 1/4 inch. You can tuck it in there and then secure it and tape it and mud it and everything else. So just some pointers. Make sure you're not going to have somebody that's going to be cutting corners there. Yep, that's exactly what I think it was. So good shot, catching that. Looks like duct material to me. And then we have a bunch of wood here. So, you know, with all the wood there, maybe something got in there. It could have been a varmint. Definitely go throughout the rest of this area here and feel for, if this is a home that you're seriously considering, feel for the level or degree of sturdiness, bubbling, sinking of the flooring. Yeah, that looks like duck to me. And I can't really tell what kind of subfloor this is. But there's a lot of sawdust there, so it looks like something was having a good time through there. Sometimes they get stuck. Some of the animals, especially if the ducts work underneath the home, has not been maintained regularly. Some of it will fall over time, and if you don't have skirting that's intact, raccoons, cats, mice, rats, all kinds of stuff can get underneath. Raccoons can get up underneath there and start doing some serious damage, and they'll actually can pull this through if they can't get out the side, and actually will come up through the home, especially if there's food to be had, right? Furnace goes, I would pull the panels off, look inside. If you see that it's like caked in dust and just grime, chances are it hasn't been serviced and possibly not working. The other thing too to be aware of is look at the furnace filter. If there is one, that's going to give you an idea as to how well maintained it's been. The other thing is looking for new material inside there. So new connections points, new metal that's in there. There are new components could be thrown in there. So the thing is, just because it's old doesn't mean it won't work. And in fact, we've had some of these furnaces are like diehards, as long as you have somebody that is familiar with working on them. So one thing to be aware of is that HVAC in the mobile home industry is a specialty. Not everybody is willing to work with these or crawl underneath manufactured homes and install new ductwork or fix ductwork. So you need to make sure that you've got somebody that has experience with it. Plus also these units are unique to manufactured homes. And if somebody tries to install something that's typically a site-built home setup, it's not going to fit typically in the space. These are designed specifically for manufactured homes. You can get new ones. Definitely, there's plenty of new ones. We've put in plenty of those over the years. They can be more energy efficient. The thing is they normally are not cheap at all. The other thing is if you need to have central AC in the area, you need to make sure you're pulling off typically the bottom panel to make sure to see if there's actually something called a coil in there, or if there's enough space, if you can keep this, to be able to put a coil in there. That will allow you to be able to connect your AC unit for the outside to be able to bring in central AC into this. So this looks like a forced air. Some of them are electric. They're a lot more stubby if they're electric. The other thing is that can go awry is how it burns in there. So some of the repairs can actually end up being just as expensive as a replacement would be. And so just, you know, if you can't test it out due to electric not being on, gas not being on, other such things, then you're going to want to put in a safety number for replacement. If you can't try it out, pull it out in your numbers. Okay, so just put a safety number in there. Possibly call around for people that will do install of manufactured home heating systems, HVAC systems. A lot of your park managers can refer some people to you. As you're driving through the communities, look for trucks that are servicing them too. They're there for a reason, right? Oh, one other quick thing. Look up into the flue, up where the flue goes up through the ceiling. So you want to make sure it's actually connected to this, that all the carbon monoxide is going out. The other thing is too, is that where it comes, connects to goes through the ceiling, that you're not seeing discoloration. Big thing there is if you see discoloration, typically it's water staining, and that means that the coupling or basically the connection point through the roof is compromised and that water's coming in through. So that's another indicator, something to look forward to. We love the fabulous green, although we do have a white one under here, so that's cool, bonus. Cabinets definitely have seen better times. And then we also have the fabulous bug spray with the assortment of bugs. So don't be afraid of bugs when you go through these. They are quite prolific with bugs in a lot of cases. It's hard to tell what's happening under here, but you definitely want to take a look underneath the cabinets where the plumbing is, see what kind of plumbing we have. Do we see calcification, mineralization on the shutoff valves? Do we see that on the plumbing leading from the drain down out of the home as well? If you can turn the water on, again, we're turning on the cold side, seeing if it's leaking. We're turning on the hot side and seeing how hot it gets, how quickly, and then also mineralization coming out of there. Is there anything rust colored? And there's a variety of different reasons for that. It could be the pipes themselves are metal and haven't had water through them for a little bit. It could be that the water heater is on its way out because it has tons of rust at the bottom of it, or it can end up being a well situation. If none of those things apply, then it should be clear coming out of there nice and hot. This size of vanity can get expensive to install. A lot of our stuff is custom size. So I would take, typically your 40 on down is going to be a better size. Obviously, double sinks is more marketable. There might be a way to basically reblock this and put in some doors, new doors. We do have a mill nearby that for 40 bucks a door, they'll put it on. It doesn't necessarily end up warranting that with every community that we're in. A lot of times what we'll do is we will swap out the sink base, the actual sink itself, with a white one just to update it. And depending on the condition of this countertop, we could actually possibly look to salvage that. And in some cases, the mirror is good. We could end up, if it has basically some basically wear on it from like water and discoloration like that, a lot of times we can encase those and paint that. A lot of our manufactured homes we need to paint in order for it to be marketable. This does look like it's just bare wood. Looks like plywood. So that's something to be aware of. And a lot of people don't necessarily install it correctly. Yeah, that's what it looks like. So it means it's had some issues. I wouldn't necessarily say it's installed correctly. You'd want to see how level that is. Probably the toilet is newer, but we got something fun in there. Window isn't working super well because it's not staying up there without a block in it. So that's interesting. We do have some discoloration. So on this side behind this wall might be a water heater, and that might be what's causing some of this discoloration. It's kind of hard to tell. I would tread along each side of the toilet and then also in front of the tub and also under by that window just to see what is going on there. Tub's actually, it's green, but trying to see, is there an issue there? There might be an issue there. Looks like they cut something out. It's hard to tell. If they did, this is a complete replacement. There's some issues here, possibly. It's hard to tell. Not being there. These fiberglass tubs can actually, if they're in decent shape, they can actually be resurfaced. You don't want to use standard, like regular old paint. It's going to end up peeling off. If it's not prepped correctly, it's just going to peel off and it's going to look like garbage. Depending on the resale and what's needed in your area to get top dollar, in some cases, this could just be cleaned up as long as it still functions. So you want to make sure the diverter, so when you pull this up, that is actually working. It's communicating with this up here to spit water out of here. That's the diverter part. And then when you push that back down, that it comes out the spout. You also want to make sure that both of these work and that there's enough pressure coming out, because there can be a bunch of mineralization, calcification, and also other issues, little gaskets and whatnot that have gotten clogged or broken or dried up and disintegrated. The other thing is around the drain, looking to see if there is cracking or anything like that, discoloration. Is it a tight fit? Because a lot of people will pull those off in order to help clear drains and not do it correctly, and that will require a whole new replacement. The other thing is in the corners of it, checking to see the condition of that, and then also on the edges to make sure there's no water that is getting out of it. We have looks like a door, looks like a closet door maybe. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Is that a closet door that was up in where the window was? It's interesting. somebody didn't want anybody seeing them. It looks almost like a channel there. That's weird. Yeah, that's really weird. Or it could just be on the other side. Obviously, we've got some serious window issues here. This will be a replacement. Definitely, whenever you see duct tape on it, there's been water coming in. It's kind of hard to tell on this side. It's weird what's going on up there. Yeah, definitely discoloration. Weird location for a light as well. But and that's the other thing is too, is the outlets, if they end up looking like they're black, that's something to be aware of. Over here, it looks like it might have some discoloration on or that could just be the picture. Something was going on over there, but that definitely would be something to look at. That can get expensive, way expensive to replace windows. It has to be done correctly too. They have to understand how to install them correctly with the type of exterior that you have on the manufactured home. And in some cases, you might actually have to do some additional modifications to the outside and possibly paint in order for it to be a clean look. Definitely a lot of water damage. Could be truss issues too, just based off of what we're seeing here, what we're seeing there. It's buckling in quite a few areas. There's separation. It goes all the way across. So definitely water. Absolutely, 1000%. Tons of water coming in. Looks like it needs a new roof. We've got water coming down here. We have water pulling down here. It's been sitting on carpet. That's, that's going to probably be subfloor all along there. There's going to be issues. Check windows. Water damage there. This could be trusses. Could be wet insulation and that plastic. Could be a lot of different things. Let's see if we zoom in. Yeah, so that is where the vent was for it. Water damage, water damage, water damage. It's an interesting little wall there. I don't know what was going on there, discoloration. So there is water damage in here. I would look to see where this vents out and what that would look like to clean that up and seal that. Out walking outside, so that porch is extra crispy. The back door, maybe. That's what it looks like. That would be further inspection. If you can pull off skirting on that and look underneath to see how it's braced. If the framing is good, then it's just the decking that was exposed to water. That's basically water wicked OSB or plywood. Might be plywood. Plywood. Water damage. Probably door seal, or if there's a carport or an awning over this, that might be the reason for the water here. Could be affecting your electrical, so that would be something to check if you can get into the electrical. I would definitely fill across here. Looks like something was scraping, so there could be a leveling issue as well, or it could just be the hinges in the door frame for the outside. That same door. Yeah, that decking needs to be torn up and redone. I would make sure the security of the railings, especially if you're, all of our stuff is safe, habitable, and secure. So I would recommend checking those things. That can get expensive. I've had porches where they were blocked up using car jacks. They were blocked up using floor jacks for like putting up a car. So rather than like the actual crank floor, like regular car, like travel jack on the road travel jack, I've seen those, and then I've seen the floor jacks, the stands to hold up the porch. I've seen manufactured home stands underneath to hold up the porch. I have seen actually log stumps, chunks of log that have been shoved onto there too. So a lot of things other than what should be is pretty common from what I've seen in a lot of cases, but this would definitely be something that would need to be torn out and resurfaced. In a lot of cases, also your park is going to require certain things, and I would take a look at the way that this awning is done and how it's connected to the house, because that could be causing a lot of problems based off of the water on the edges of the ceiling mostly. I'm not quite sure if the kitchen, that cardboard? Looks like cardboard in the window, huh? I don't know if that outlet is not existent. Somebody did not like people looking in, I can tell you that. If it is a meth situation, look for, so obviously sink is taken out. That's something to look at. Look for a bunch of chemicals laying around. Look for a lot of gas, propane cylinders laying around. Look for discoloration in sinks, countertops. Looks like a chemical discoloration, and then it should have, if it was meth, it should have like a very, very, very intense, tons of cats urinating all at the same time in the place kind of smell. It's a pretty intense smell if they were manufacturing meth in there. And just some of these things are just kind of weird, Like, why would you probably, block that up and then have a light there? Just interesting. So unfortunately, we can't see a whole lot in there. Definitely countertop, new countertop. Peroxide's always good. There's a different sink in there with a faucet, so if you can test that out, best to be able to do so. Cabinets look pretty chewed up, so probably new cabinets. That's falling out, so that's good. Fridge is probably the nicest thing in there. I don't know, maybe the stove works. That's some weird stuff in there. It's hard to tell. You can see some discoloration in the ceiling there. I would definitely check underneath the sink, and if there's a dishwasher there, the flooring in front of it, also the cabinet underneath for water wicking, water damage that's taken place, mineralization, calcification, buckets, rags. Is there even a base in the cabinet or not? Those types of things. Let's see. You did get that, so that's good. Doesn't look as bad as I thought it would be. So that's good. You got green, so maybe it already has its own sink, right? The one thing so sometimes these are installed on the back outside of the sink. That does happen from time to time, and they have a tendency to leak pretty aggressively, and it'll affect the countertop. So if the countertop overall is in decent shape, but it's installed there, you're probably going to have to replace the whole thing. We've run across that a few times too. Just kind of common. Oh, at least the faucet's running. That's good. Check both sides and then look to see how it's draining underneath. Well, I would recommend obviously updating all this. The other thing is the cabinets, since I can't really see what those look like. Some of them might be salvageable. Like we've taken out bottom cabinets, kept top cabinets, cleaned them up, fixed them up, possibly refaced them with other cabinets from down below that matched, and then painted them. So we've done that to be able to keep costs down. Majority of these are not box cabinets. They're actually frames with like laminate on them in order to keep costs down. Some of the doors, are actually plastic. Yeah, they're actually plastic. So. Yes, definitely that needs to be replaced. I would feel around the rest of it as well, high-low spots, and see if there's a lot of things that people do is they don't brace them when they install these. They go to build them. They don't brace them the way that they should. There's too much of a span between the floor joists on these, and so it actually makes and in a lot of cases also they'll put too thin of a deck on there. They'll use maybe a 1/2 inch rather than 3/4 inch. As far as width of material on top of it for the decking. The other thing is too, is believe it or not, exterior carpet actually helps out with that. And even like normally we'll put exterior carpet on something like this as a replacement, but it depends on the park as to what they want done too. Yeah, I would say some of the issues might actually be coming from this awning. So it's a metal exterior, and they have a gutter system. So they've been having issues on the exterior of the house, and a lot of people will put on a gutter system, gutter and downspout on it, but will not be installed correctly, and it actually causes water to go back in the house. So in this situation, this plus the way this looks on the side of the house, those might be some of the reasons why you've got water coming in instead of just roof. Also, these things could have caused the roof to have more issues, or this could have been a fix for a roof issue, or this could have been a fix for, remember those little gutters that I was talking about that are on the downside of the other house? Those could not have been cleaned out correctly or connected correctly, and it's causing water to come down on the home. The other thing too is the sealant. These may not be sealed correctly, so it's causing issues with water coming in. But this is all rotted out. That's all rotted out. That's going to have to come down. I bet you 10 to 1 the park is going to require that to come down, because this is not. That is just a mess. And that's the other thing too, is you've got issues with the siding on it, and this type of siding is very hard to find. Ways that we've gotten around it is we've taken it from a less conspicuous place like the back side of the house and just maybe put vinyl siding on there or a different type of siding, and use patch panels on the main side of the home in order to try to alleviate from having to reside the whole thing. So I would get up on the roof, take a look at the roof and see what that looks like. But your gutter system right here is probably not installed correctly. It looks like it just is flush along the house and it doesn't drop down, so it doesn't push water down. It's probably not tucked up to the roof line correctly, so it's putting water back into the house. And then this is a huge issue. That's a safety issue. It's not big enough posts and it's not secured correctly, and you have enough rotted wood. That's going to need to be redone. So just wanted to give you a kind of a quick analysis of what we typically look at, how we would investigate, evaluate based off of the pictures that I have. This is probably the best that I can end up doing for you right now. And giving you an analysis of what I would look further into or dig a little bit deeper into, and how to, effectively and efficiently, basically evaluate what you're looking at. And, so through some deductive reasoning, kind of the CSI version of where is the water coming from. That's pretty much a game that we play on a consistent basis. Where's the water coming from is a pretty common theme within the manufactured homes. This home is long, depending on how many bedrooms it has, and looks like it had 1 bath. It might be an opportunity for them to do the work on it. This does have a lot going on with it. This probably, as somebody that is just getting started, I would probably not recommend tackling this one. It looks like actually the post rotted out and they just cut it and they put these in to keep this thing up. Go figure. I wouldn't recommend this one as your first one to do. But once you have a team and you've dialed in and have a team that what the pricing is, you can have a better chance of not losing money on something like this. The other thing is always make sure you understand what the park wants done. A lot of our parks are going to require this roof to be ground down and painted. They're going to require the shed to actually be painted. In some cases, they're going to require, depending on the condition of it, for it to be removed. And a lot of our parks will not allow something like this to happen as a carport or an awning. This type of setup on either setting. Obviously, this is an awning, but I've seen carports set up like this, and a lot of times when it transfers from one owner to another, and they know that we have a repair business, a lot of times they're going to require us to rectify the issue so that it is done to park standard. Majority of the parks that we work with typically want aluminum, metal framing, as well as also then a more standard traditional carport or an awning type of roof system rather than corrugated metal. So make sure you understand what the park's requirements, conditions are, especially if you're buying it from them for repairs. Make a good impression. Do what you say you're going to do it well. So if you're not quite sure whether you can do this well with the budget that you have, I would probably recommend walking away from this one. But just wanted to give you the best I could with the photos that we have here. Analysis is what I would recommend looking at, and some of the things as to the reasons why what you're looking at, what are the key things to hone in on and zone in on, so that you can effectively evaluate these manufactured homes. So I hope this information was beneficial, and that hopefully you're better prepared for the next walkthrough that you do on your next park-owned home or any other homes that you walk through. Have a great day.